Hey folks, welcome to another episode of Walk in the Park. Today we are in Seton Falls Park in the Edenwald section of the Bronx. The park was named after the Seton family that owned acres and acres of land up here back in the day, and now it's a public park. It's got a man-made waterfall, also a bird sanctuary. You're gonna hear tons of birds in the background, but we're focusing on plants today, wild plants, maybe some wild edibles we'll find, wild medicinals. So come take a walk with me, check it out. Okay, here we are at our first stop, Plantado Major, or plantain weed. And no, it doesn't produce the plantain fruit, but it is useful. Although many people find it a nuisance, it's blowing around everywhere, growing in people's yards, growing in the street or in the cracks of the sidewalk. And you would think it's useless. However, if you have a cut, if you have a bruise, if you have any kind of toxification in the blood, actually, you can break off a piece of this, bruise the leaf a little bit, put it right on the skin, and the leaf will actually pull the toxin out of your blood. Pretty cool stuff. So it does have a use. Whenever you see it on the ground, Plantado Major, don't front on it. All right, you may have missed it because the flowers are since giving way to these tiny fruits that are unrecognizable now. But in a couple weeks, you'll start to recognize this as raspberry. Now, raspberry usually has white flowers, and you can maybe see it on some of these. They still have some of the white flower, but the fruit is starting to come through now. And raspberry is native to this area, so you'll see it kind of all over this park and many parks around the 5 boroughs. And as long as they're far enough away from a highway or something, I think they're good enough to eat. We've got some honeysuckle growing. Honeysuckle is another vigorous vine that kind of grows around everything, and if you don't prune it back, it can kind of take over the area. So I'm sure this has an extensive vine going somewhere back there, but these are the honeysuckle flowers coming out now. Here we are at Wild Rose, Rosa Carolina, native to the eastern US. It runs pretty much all the way west to Texas and doesn't have as spectacular a bloom as the roses we're used to seeing in nurseries. It does have a nice rose fragrance, and it does produce those hips that come, which is the rose fruit. They're called rose hips. They come in fall and winter. Excellent source of nutrients for birds and wildlife, and also for us. You can make tea out of rose hips. This is why they pay me the big bucks. This right here might look similar to the raspberry we saw a little earlier down the way. This is a blackberry, however. You can tell blackberry by the 5 white petal leaves, many stamens, darker leaves, and obviously when the fruit comes, it's darker. And also, whenever you pick a raspberry, that centerpiece will stay on the plant. When you pick a blackberry, the centerpiece will actually stay with the fruit, and you have to eat that or take it out. Blackberries very high in omega-3, omega-6s, protein, and vitamin C, potassium. Excellent source of nutrients for you. Also full of thorns, which I just found out. Okay, for my root beer float lovers, another underrated and overlooked plant, Sassafras. I mean, don't you want to know about it just because of that name? It has 3 distinct leaf patterns on the same tree or the same shrub. This can grow to be like a 100-foot tree if left alone and with enough space. Every part of the plant is aromatic, has a flavor reminiscent of root beer. The roots, the stems, the leaves. It's since been banned by the FDA because of potential carcinogen factors, probably substituted with high fructose corn syrup and yellow number 5. But I still think it's a great medicinal, edible, functional plant. Just crack the leaf a little bit. Root beer. That's it, folks. Seton Falls Park. Bet you Bronxites didn't even know you had a bird sanctuary in your backyard. Check out all those obscure parks in your area. Do some Google Map searching. There's not just Pelham Bay Park and Central Park and Prospect Park. There's a bunch of parks out there for you to explore. So get out there, harvest some blackberry, raspberry, and even some sassafras. Peace.